nos va a hablar de los principios de aprendizaje motor. Un aplauso para ella, por favor.
Thank you. I don't know. Am I supposed to be here?
¿Debiera estar aquí?
Okay, I'll be here then.
¿Estaré aquí entonces?
I can walk.
¿Puedo
Oh,
caminar?
I can walk. I can
muy
dance.
bien, puedo
Wonderful.
bailar, caminar. Maravilloso.
Okay, so if anybody
Si
takes a
alguien
picture of
toma
me
una
and it ends
fotografía
up
de
on
mí y
Facebook,
termina en
you
Facebook,
have to say
tiene que
why I
decir
am
por qué
wearing these
estoy
shoes.
ocupando estos
I
zapatos.
don't want
No
anybody to
quiero que
think that
nadie
I don't
piense
know
que
better,
no sé
okay? Is that a
eso.
deal?
Ese es un
She's
trato.
wearing these shoes
Ocupa
not
estos
because
zapatos
she's a
no
gringa,
porque sea gringa,
but because
sino
she had foot
porque
surgery, and
tuvo
even
una
going
cirugía en el
without
pie
shoes is painful.
y
Okay.
estar con zapatos
So,
genera
motor
dolor.
learning principles, some
Los
surprises in
principios del
store.
aprendizaje motor.
Okay, so
Okay.
there is, when we think about
Cuando
voice therapy,
pensamos en
we think
la
about
terapia de la
indirect
voz, pensamos
therapy,
en
so
terapia
drinking
indirecta,
water, staying
tomando agua,
humidified, etc.
mantenerse húmedo.
And we also think
Y
about direct
pensamos
voice therapy,
en
which is most of
terapia
voice
directa
therapy,
de la
which
voz,
involves voice
que
training, right?
involucra el entrenamiento de
And
la
for the,
voz.
how I should have asked
Por
before,
cómo yo
how
le
many of
preguntaba
you
antes,
are speech
¿cuántos de ustedes
pathologists?
son
Okay, how many of you are singers?
fonoaudiólogos o cantantes?
How many of you are
¿Cuántos de ustedes
actors?
son actores?
Not a whole lot. I've got an actor
Ok,
there.
tengo un actor
How
ahí.
many of you
¿Cuántos
are
de ustedes son-
phoniatricians or physicians,
que son
doctors?
fisiólogos,
Okay, we
doctores?
don't have a whole lot of those.
No hay
And for
mucho de
those
eso.
who didn't raise your
Y los que no
hand,
levantaron la mano,
what are you?
¿qué son?
Huh? Students. Oh, well, you
Estudiantes.
should call yourself a speech
Bueno,
pathologist or
deberían
singer
llamarse
if you are a
fonoaudiólogos
student. You're
o
already
cantantes
in the
o
path. Okay.
estudiantes, pero ya están
Does
en el
anybody
camino.
here make a living
¿Hay alguien aquí
singing?
que se gana la vida cantando?
Okay, nobody makes a living singing.
Nadie lo
Does
hace.
anybody teach singing?
¿Alguien enseña canto?
Nobody teaches singing.
Nadie
Okay.
enseña canto. Ok.
Well, at any rate, in
Bueno,
voice
de cualquier
therapy
forma,
and in voice
en-
training,
en entrenamiento de la voz,
we usually focus on
nos
what we
enfocamos
want to
en
train.
qué queremos
Okay?
entrenar.
How many of you have
¿Cuántos de
studied
ustedes
voice, have had
estudiaron,
voice lessons?
voz o lecciones de
Studied
voz?
voice, yeah,
Sí.
several of you. Okay.
Bastante
How many
ustedes.
of you have
¿Cuántos de
had
ustedes han tenido
lessons in another
lecciones en
instrument?
otro instrumento?
Violin, piano.
Violín, piano.
Okay. How many of you have
¿Cuántos de
had
ustedes han
lessons in
tenido lecciones
skiing?
en esquiar?
Skiing. How about golf?
¿Y qué tal golf?
Anybody golf? Anybody tennis?
¿Alguien tenis?
Okay, a few. All right, probably all of you have had
Probablemente todos ustedes han
lessons in
tenido
some kind
lecciones
of
en algún
physical
tipo
activity.
de actividad
And
física.
when you have had those
Y cuando han
lessons,
tenido esas
have you
lecciones,
been trained
han
in the
sido
correct
entrenados
biomechanics
en la
of how to
correcta
perform?
biomecánica
The correct
de cómo
biomechanics
hacer el
of
movimiento.
singing, for
De cantar,
example.
por ejemplo,
You know, so you stand with
así
one foot in
se
front of the
paran con
other
un
and you
pie
move your
delante del otro
abdomen
y
this way
mueven
and
su
you
abdomen de
relax.
esta
Have you
manera.
had that kind of
¿Han tenido
training?
ese
If
tipo
you've
de
had training in
entrenamiento?
singing?
Sí, sí
Okay,
que han
yeah,
tenido
that's a
entrenamiento en
typical
canto.
focus.
Es un
The typical
enfoque
focus
típico.
in training in all
En
of these
entrenamiento en todos
domains,
estos
golf
dominios,
is
golf,
the
por
one that is
ejemplo,
really
es
exaggerated that
muy
way.
exagerado
Golf
en
is
ese sentido.
crazy
Es
with
muy
their
loco
analysis of
de su
strokes
análisis de
and how to
dar-
have the
de
perfect
cómo
stroke. So
tener el
usually in voice
golpe preciso.
therapy and training, we focus on
En
what to
terapia
train.
aquí
So
es-
maybe you went
es
and you
qué
studied
queremos
with a
entrenar.
teacher
Si has estudiado
who
con un
thought it was
profesor
good to
que pensó
drop your
que era
jaw
bueno
and lift your
relajar
tongue
la
up in the
mandíbula
back.
y
And if that
levantar
worked
su
for
lengua
you,
del
that's
fondo.
what you're
Si
going to
eso
train
funcionó
other
para ti,
people to
eso es lo
do.
que tú vas a enseñar a
Or
otra
if you are
persona
a
a hacer.
speech
O
pathologist,
si eres
you might have
fonoaudiólogo,
learned that it's good to have
probablemente haya aprendido
nice big
a
breathing
realmente
gestures.
gestos de
And so that's what
respiración.
you train
Y eso
people
es
to
lo que
do.
tú
You tell
entrenas a
them
la
to do
persona a
that,
hacer.
right? Is
Y
that
le
what you do?
enseñas
Yeah, most
que
of us
tienen
do
que hacer
that,
eso.
okay?
La mayoría
And
hacemos
the
eso.
best, and the best
Y
answer
la mejor
about
respuesta con
what we
respecto
want somebody to do
a
in
qué
voice
queremos
training
que alguien
depends
haga
on
en
your
el
patient
entrenamiento
or
de
your
voz, ya sea
learner
un paciente
and
o
their
alguien que está
needs.
aprendiendo o sus
And
necesidades.
we talk about, we have talked about elsewhere, not here today,
En otro
but
lugar, no
we have
aquí,
talked about an
pero hablamos
idealized
de
way to use the
una
vocal folds has to do
forma
with
de
having them
utilizar
barely touching or
idealmente
barely
la
separated.
voz.
We'll come back to that later
Vamos a
today.
volver a eso hoy
Maybe
más
using
tarde.
a partially
Y
narrowed
usando
vocal tract.
un-
And the
un
clinician
tracto
may
vocal
also
muy
decide to address
específico.
other issues besides what the vocal folds are doing, as we already
Independiente de las cuerdas
mentioned.
vocales
Posture,
que ya
breathing,
la
whether your
postura,
larynx should be high
respiración,
or
dónde
low,
debe estar la
jaw
laringe,
position,
la
tongue
posición de la
position,
mandíbula, de la
neck
lengua,
adjustments,
el
etc.,
ajuste
etc.
del cuello, etcétera, etcétera.
But the question is how to train. Are you going to go in there and say to somebody, please abduct your vocal folds by 0.6, 0.7 millimeters, which turns out to be an ideal position for the vocal folds? Are you going to say that? Or please utilize a narrowed epilarynx while you do it, because that will get you the singer's formant, the ring in the classical singing voice. You're kidding, right? Okay? But that is kind of what we do. And here is my history with this question. And the first couple of years when I was a teacher of singing, and I was an early speech pathologist. I won't say young, because I was already 30 when I started practice. I had this experience where I would be sitting across a table or near a person, and I would say, okay, drop your jaw, and they would go, no, drop your jaw. Okay, shoulders back, drop your shoulders, easy, nice and easy, with a little bit of a yawn, drop your jaw. And I felt like there's this big hole, there's this black hole. I don't know if you can see it, but there's an image of a black hole there. This great abyss. What is happening between me, my face, and that person's face who is this far away from me? It felt like this information was just going, disappearing into some space that was not known to me. And I sometimes called it the great abyss. And initially I asked myself this question rhetorically, what's going on here? But then I decided to ask myself this question honestly, like what is going on here? I became interested in the how of training. So I knew a fair amount of acoustics and biomechanics by that point, but telling people what I knew about it didn't seem to be getting the job done. I, as a singer, had always been trained biomechanically. Always been trained biomechanically, at least for classical singing. So I became interested in the question of how do people acquire new physical behaviors? What are the cognitive mechanisms? And this is especially relevant for teeny tiny little structures, the vocal folds, that are about a centimeter and a half long, and together they weigh only 3 grams. So how are people going to learn how to control their vocal folds differently, especially because they can't even see them, right? It's not like the tennis swing or the golf swing, which you can see. And this question eventually prompted me to pursue my PhD studies, my doctoral studies, in cognitive science with an emphasis in motor learning. My original plan was to study acoustics and biomechanics, but I determined that there were a whole lot of people much more competent in mathematics, engineering, physics than I would ever be, but nobody was looking at this. So that's what I did. And in this talk, we will be talking about some of the most important cognitive mechanisms involved in acquiring new motor patterns and overriding old patterns. If we're going to talk about some of these findings, it's helpful to organize them according to some theoretical framework. And one such framework or one such model has to do with the distinction between, I'm so sorry, I keep hitting the wrong thing, between declarative and procedural learning. Raise your hand if you've ever heard of these terms, declarative and procedural. Have you ever heard of them? Okay, so some of you have. Okay, good. So this will be a bit of a review for you then. Hopefully there will be some new findings as well. Declarative learning involves memory for specific events in time and space. What did you eat for breakfast this morning? And general knowledge about the world. Who discovered Chile? Who discovered Chile? There were always people here, right? I don't know, was Chile discovered? We talk about who discovered America, and it was supposedly Christopher Columbus, but that's not even correct. But anyway, general facts about the world. So if we want to know if somebody knows something declaratively, we ask them to tell us, right? We ask them to declare what they know. And if they don't know who discovered Chile, we assume, if they don't declare it, we assume they don't know it. Procedural learning instead has to do with memories for processes or procedures, such as riding a bike, learning to talk, walking, tying your shoes. All of those things are procedures. And if we want to know if somebody has acquired a procedural memory, we don't ask them to talk about it. We don't, if we want to know if somebody knows how to ride a bike, we don't say, please explain to me the mechanics of riding a bike, right? We put them on a bike and we see how they do. And this distinction has been made for a very long time using different words, different nomenclature. We can find evidence of it as far back as Plato, so a few thousand years ago. But interest in the more or less contemporary era was probably kick-started by a French neurologist whose name was Claraped. That should have a accent grave there. Claraped. I don't know if this is the French neurologist Claraped. I get most of my images from Google, and I just put in French Claraped, and here's this guy with a horse, so I don't know if that's the correct one, but at any rate. So he had a patient who had very, very dense anterograde amnesia. She could not form new declarative memories of anything that had happened since the onset of her disease. And periodically he would go visit her in the sanatorium where she stayed, and she didn't ever know who he was. She'd say, who are you? Oh, I'm your neurologist. Oh, how very nice. They'd shake hands and she'd invite him in to her room, and he would examine her, and that would be that for that day. So one day he decided to visit her, and everything was the same as usual. Who are you? Oh, I'm Dr. Claraped, your neurologist. Oh, how very nice. Won't you come in? And she shakes his hand. But this time, for some perverse reason, he decided to prick her hand with a pin. She withdrew her hand, but nonetheless said, won't you come in? And they talked and did their usual thing. Well, the next time he came to visit her, everything was as usual. Who are you? I'm Dr. Claraped, your neurologist. Oh, how very nice. Everything was the same as it always had been, except for she refused to shake his hand. She didn't even know who he was. She didn't remember that she had seen him before, but something of that memory had gotten into her head and influenced her behavior. So he reported on this particular episode, but it was in 1962 that Brenda Milner, this is actually the correct image of Brenda Milner, who I'm not sure if she's still living, but she was a neurologist also, I believe neurosurgeon, in Montreal, French-Canadian neurosurgeon. And she had a patient whose initials were HM, and he, HM had 16 or 17 years old. He had intractable grand mal seizures. So he was having more than 40 grand mal seizures a day. And everything had been tried and nothing was helping. So it was decided to proceed with a medial temporal lobectomy. So removal of the temporal lobes, the medial temporal lobes bilaterally. And it was known that this would cause amnesia, but it's also known that epilepsy lives in the medial temporal lobes. So removing them would control the seizures, which it did, but of course afterwards he had very, very dense, also very dense anterograde amnesia. He couldn't remember a thing from events that had occurred since his surgery. But it was reported that when he went to the activities room to play games that had some manuality to them, he was improving on a regular basis, even though he didn't remember that he had ever played these games before, right? So again, memories were being formed. He just didn't remember them the way that we normally think about memory. So the implications are that if declarative and procedural learning can be differentially disrupted based on site of lesion, they must at least partly depend on different neurological substrates. The types of memories that are damaged in amnesia are declarative memories, and they are impaired with damage to the hippocampus. Here you see some medial temporal lobe structures, hippocampus, the amygdala, and certain other cerebral structures, in particular certain parts of the thalamus. And the types of memories that remain relatively intact with amnesia are called procedural memories, And these are generally very little affected by these structures here. So we have a difference in the reliance or not on the hippocampus and the amygdala in procedural, in declarative versus procedural memories. I seem to be dry. And furthermore, it's clear from these observations, and there have been tons of these observations since 1962, the implications are that motor learning can and does occur without conscious memories that one has learned, or by extension, what one has learned. So consciousness doesn't seem relevant, particularly for motor learning, and that's kind of interesting. So we can ask, what are some other cognitive characteristics of the system and of the processes that learn motor things? Okay, here we have a couple of lists. I don't know how well you can see them, but I'll read them to you. Here we have cognitive characteristics of declarative learning, which is also sometimes called explicit memory. And here we have the characteristics of procedural or more implicit learning. Sorry, I really must be dry. My voice is really fine. Believe me, I don't have a voice problem right now. Just a little bit of water. That's good. Procedural and implicit learning are very similar. They're not exactly the same, but they're close enough that I will make that equation. So declarative learning, by definition, involves consciousness. And implicit, if not procedural learning, at least implicit learning by definition, its definition is that it's non-conscious. Declarative learning, the items that are underlined here and bolded, I'm going to talk to you a little bit more about. The other ones I'm going to just move through quickly here on this slide. Declarative learning has been shown almost always to depend on associational processing. So, for example, if you want to remember something for an exam, you might make an association with what you're trying to learn with something else that you know. You might make a mnemonic. For example, our students, when they're trying to learn the cranial nerves, there is a poem that goes around, and the poem is, "On old Olympic's towering tops, a Finn and German hewed some hops." So I can never remember the small numbers of the cranial nerves, but the Finn would be for facial, the German G would be glossopharyngeal, Finn and German viewed would be, A, auditory, and German viewed, vagus, some, et cetera, et cetera. So that's an example of associational processing. And on the other hand, procedural learning or implicit learning has almost always, there have been a few exceptions, but has almost always been shown to depend on sensory or perceptual processing, not associational processing, which is generally much more complex. Declarative learning is usually intentional. If you want to remember something consciously for an exam, you have to intend on remembering it. And that way you might use these mnemonics that we were talking about. Procedural learning is often incidental. Babies don't usually intend to learn how to walk, but they do learn how to walk. Same thing for speech, same thing for voice. Declarative learning is shown to depend on a very, very small mental processor. It can process only 7 plus or minus 2 items in any given short period of time. Newer estimates indicate that the number may be even smaller. 4 items is all we can process in consciousness at one period of time, and those items have to be processed serially, one after the other. We can only think of one thing in consciousness at a time. But these types of memories are very flexible. You can learn something at home in one font, in one color of writing, and you can produce it at school in another font or with another colored pen. So it's very flexible. It survives transfers of environment and physical characteristics. On the other hand, procedural learning is very stereotypic, and it depends on what has been described as a mental processor that has
un
no
procesador
known
mental
limits.
que no tiene
Its
límite
limits are
conocido.
considered
Sus
infinite,
límites se
therefore no
consideran
limits.
infinitos,
So it processes a
por
huge
lo cual
amount of data
procesa
really
una
fast
cantidad grande
and
de
all at
datos,
once, which
y
is why
todo
it
desde
can't
una
fit into
vez. Por eso es
consciousness,
que no puede
because
caber en nuestro
consciousness
lugar
is a
consciente,
very,
porque
very
la conciencia
small,
es un lugar muy lento y
laborious
pequeño y laborioso
bench for
para
cognitive
para
processing.
los procesos cognitivos.
Declarative learning is
Ahora, el
phylogenetically
declarativo
and
también es
ontogenetically
filogenético
new or
y
recent.
nuevo
In other words,
ontogenéticamente
in the
hablando.
development of
En
the
otras palabras,
species,
es que en el
consciousness
desarrollo de
is
esta
something that we
especie,
usually
la
consider
conciencia es algo que nosotros
has
consideramos
appeared relatively
que ha
recently.
aparecido, perdón,
Do fish have
relativamente hace
consciousness? Well,
poco.
probably.
¿Los peces tienen
And we think that
conciencia?
humans have
Probablemente.
more
Nosotros
consciousness than
pensamos
all
que
other
los humanos
organisms. I
tenemos más
suppose that
conciencia que
remains to be
cualquier otro
determined.
organismo.
But
Eso
we
aún
don't
no se
usually think
determina,
of
pero
single-cell
usualmente no
organisms
pensamos de
or
organismos
early
unicelulares
evolving organisms as
o
having consciousness,
organismos
right?
que hayan
And
evolucionado como que tengan
ontogenetically, in the
conciencia, y
development of a
ontogenéticamente
single
hablando, en el
individual, a
desarrollo de
human
un
being,
individuo
consciousness
o un
develops
ser
fairly
humano,
late.
la
We are born
conciencia se
without conscious
desarrolla muy
abilities,
tarde.
which
Nosotros
is
no
a good
nacemos con
thing
habilidades
because
de
this
conciencia, lo cual
phenomenon
es
is
bueno
called infant
porque este
amnesia.
fenómeno se llama
If we
amnesia
had
de
conscious
infante.
abilities,
Si nosotros
abilities to
tuviésemos
form
habilidades
declarative memories
conscientes
from
de
the
poder
moment
crear
we are born,
memorias
we would
declarativas desde el
remember
momento
our
que
birth,
nacemos, nosotros
which has to be the
recordaríamos nuestro
worst day of our
nacimiento, que
lives,
debe ser el
right?
peor
It
día de
has to be
nuestras
a
vidas,
very,
¿verdad?
very bad day.
Debe ser algo muy,
So
muy, muy malo.
mercifully, we are born without
Entonces,
the ability
lo
to
bueno es que
form
nosotros
conscious
nacemos
memories,
sin la habilidad de poder
and
formar
the
memorias
neurological
conscientes,
equipment
y
for
el
these
equipo
memories
neurológico para
only
estas
starts
memorias
to appear
solo
around
comienzan a
7, 8,
aparecer
9 months of age.
a los 7,
Most of
8 o
us
9
right
meses de
now
vida.
in this
Muchos de
room don't
nosotros
have
ahora mismo en
conscious
esta
memories
habitación
of
no
much of
tenemos memorias de
anything before
conciencia
we were about 3
de
or 4
antes que
years
tuviésemos
old.
3 o
Okay?
4 años,
It
¿verdad?
develops fairly
Entonces
late
se
in
desarrolla
the life of
bastante
an
tarde
individual
en la
human,
vida de un
and it is
individuo
vanishing and
y
unstable
está
across the lifespan.
y es
It is
variable
said that,
y
I
no
guess there's
estable
some
durante
data
la
that
vida. Hay
suggests
algunas
that
informaciones que
declarative
sugieren
learning and memory
que los
capabilities
modelos
peak
declarativos
at about
llegan a
age
su
30.
peak como a los
Most of you in
30.
this room are
La mayoría de
probably
ustedes
less than
quizá
age
tienen
30.
menos de
For those of
30
us who
años.
might be
Para
more
el
than
resto
age
que
30,
tengamos quizás
the
más
good
de
news
30
is that
años,
we
la buena
acquire
noticia es
other
que adquirimos
other gifts such
otros-
as wisdom
otros
as our
premios
memory
como
capabilities
sabiduría
start to
o nuestra
decline. So
capacidad de memoria
no
empieza a
fear
bajar, pero
there.
ganamos más
So
sabiduría,
we're
así que
born
no hay
without
nada malo
declarative
ahí.
memory
Pero
capabilities, and we
nacimos sin
gradually lose
esta
them across the
capacidad y las
lifespan.
perdemos a través
Um,
del tiempo.
In contrast, procedural
En
memory
contraste, la memoria
is
procedural
phylogenetically and ontogenetically
es
old,
filogenética
early
y
appearing. We can show
ontogenéticamente
evidence of
antigua.
this type
Podemos
of
mostrar
memory
evidencia de
in
este tipo de
single-cell
memoria
amoebas or
en
single-cell
amebas
organisms,
unicelulares
and we
o
can
otro tipo de
also
organismos
show that
unicelares.
very early
Y
in the
además
life
podemos
of
mostrar
an
que
individual human
tempranamente en la
being,
vida de un
there
ser
are
humano
procedural learning
hay también
capabilities. There are
capacidades
some very
procedurales.
clever
Hay
experimental
algunos
paradigms
experimentos,
that
paradigmas
that make this
experimentales
point
que
where
hacen que nos
fetuses
demuestran
as
este
early
punto,
as 4
demuestran que los
months of
fetos que
gestational
tienen
age and
4
maybe
meses
earlier
de edad
can be
gestacional
shown to have
se,
procedural learning
se nota que tienen
capabilities.
capacidades
And
procedurales de
procedural
aprendizaje.
learning tends to be very
Y
stable
esto tiende
over
a ser muy
time.
estable
If you
a
learn
través
how to
del
ride a
tiempo.
bike
Si
when
uno
you're
aprende
15
cómo
years
andar
or
en
haven't ridden
bicicleta
a
a
bike
los
since you
15
were 15
años,
years
o
old,
si no te has
and
subido
you're
una bicicleta
35
a los
now,
15 años y ahora
when
tienes
somebody puts you
35,
on a bike,
si
after
alguien
the
te sube
first
en una
3 pedals
bicicleta
you go,
después de los
okay,
2
you
pedaleos,
retain
uno
that
ya lo
ability.
sabe, uno retiene
And
esa
so it
habilidad.
tends to be very
Entonces
stable
tiende a
across the
ser muy
lifespan,
estable a
even when
través de la
people
vida,
have dementia
incluso cuando las
and have
personas
poor
tienen demencia
declarative
y tienen
learning
pocas
capabilities.
capacidades
Both
declarativas.
declarative
Ahora,
and
ambos, la
and
declarativa y
procedural
la
learning
procedural,
are
estos modelos
attention and repetition dependent.
dependen de
And
la atención y la
especially
repetición.
procedural learning, where
Especialmente
people are not only
el
attempting
procedural,
to
donde la
acquire a
gente
new
no solo
behavior,
quiere
but
adquirir un
as
nuevo
with voice therapy,
comportamiento, pero
when they
además
are
con la
attempting
terapia de
to
la voz,
create a new
cuando quieren
behavior
crear un nuevo
that will
comportamiento
override an
que
old
va
behavior,
a hacer un
we're
override, que
talking
va a
hundreds
reemplazar
of thousands of
otro
repetitions
otro
before the new
comportamiento, tenemos que
behavior
hacer
becomes
cientos de miles de
automatic.
repeticiones antes que este nuevo
So let's talk
comportamiento sea
about a few of
automático.
these items that are
Hablemos
underlined.
algunos de estos ítems que están subrayados.
Attention.
La
Now,
atención.
we just said before, we
Ya
established
dijimos
before
antes,
that probably
establecimos
all of
antes
us who have
que
had some kind of
probablemente
training in a
todos de
physical
nosotros que hemos
task
tenido algún
have been
tipo de
trained
entrenamiento en una tarea
biomechanically.
física,
And
hemos
when we
entrenado
do speech therapy, we
biomecánicamente. Y
probably
cuando
train
hacemos
our
terapia de
patients
voz,
or our clients
probablemente entrenamos a
biomechanically as
nuestros
well.
pacientes
How
de
many of
manera
you have worked
biomecánica
with children with
¿Cuántos de
an
ustedes han
S
trabajado con
problem
niños
or
con un
an
problema
R
de la
problem?
S o la R?
Have you done that?
¿Han
Okay.
hecho eso?
Do you
Sí.
sit the child in front of a
¿Ustedes
mirror
sientan al
and show
niño
the
frente a
child
un
what to
espejo
do?
y le
Have you
muestran
done
al
that?
niño qué
That's
hacer?
what we do
¿Lo han hecho?
typically in the
Eso es lo
United
que
States.
nosotros
That's That makes
actualmente somos
perfect
los
sense,
Estados
doesn't
Unidos.
it?
Y eso tiene
You're
sentido,
putting
¿verdad?
your tongue between your teeth,
Estás poniendo tu
like
lengua
that,
entre tus
and your
dientes
tongue
así.
needs to be
Y
behind
tu
your,
lengua
behind
tiene
your
que
teeth.
estar detrás
So
de
you
tus
show them what
dientes.
to do.
Entonces les
And
mostramos
that's what
qué
most
hacer.
of us would
Y
do.
eso
It's
es lo que
logical.
la mayoría de nosotros haríamos. Es lo
Unfortunately,
lógico.
there is a problem with that
Lamentablemente hay un
approach.
problema
So
con
don't
ese
cry.
enfoque.
There is a
Pero
solution,
no
but there
lloren,
is a
hay una
problem.
solución, pero hay un problema.
And this problem has
Y el
been
problema
documented,
se ha
well
documentado
documented,
muy
in a
bien
large number of studies
por
over the
un
past
gran número de
15 years.
estudios
Here's
en
an
los últimos
example
15
of the
años.
problem.
Aquí tenemos un ejemplo
In one of
del
the early
problema.
studies, I
En
keep
uno de
hitting
los
that
más tempranos
the
estudios,
forward button instead of the
Siempre apreto el
laser.
botón
In
equivocado.
one of the first studies by Gabby
En uno de los
Wolf
primeros
and
estudios por
colleague,
Gabby Wolf y su
the
colega,
task, this is a ski
este
simulator,
es un
okay?
simulador de
So
esquí.
the task is to
Entonces
move
la
across
tarea
this curved
es
board
moverse por esta
as
tabla
fast
curva
as possible
lo más rápido
with the
posible,
greatest amplitude
con la
possible.
amplitud
And
más
your
grande
skill
posible.
level
Y
is
su
given
nivel de
as you
habilidad
improve.
se da a
Your
medida que vas
score
mejorando.
or your skill
Tu
level is
puntaje o tu
given
nivel de habilidad
by the
es
product
dado
of
por el
frequency
producto
times
de la
amplitude.
frecuencia
Okay?
por
So what they
las
did
veces
in
la
this
amplitud.
study
Entonces, lo que
is
hicieron en
they
este estudio
gave some subjects
es que dieron a algunos
biomechanical
sujetos
instructions
instrucciones
on at
biomecánicas
what point should they
en
shift
qué
their,
punto
their weight
deberían
from one
cambiar
foot
el
to the
peso
other
de un pie
to
al otro
maximize
para
their
poder
performance,
maximizar el
optimize their
rendimiento
performance
o
on this
maximizar
task.
el rendimiento
And
de
in the
esta
other
tarea.
group of subjects,
Y en el otro grupo,
they didn't give any
ellos no
instructions.
les dieron ningún
All
tipo de
subjects got
instrucción.
feedback on how they were
Les
doing,
llegó
but one group
retroalimentación de
just
cómo
received no
iban, pero un
instructions.
grupo no
The
recibió
group that got
información.
instructions
El grupo que
thought
tuvo
that those
instrucciones
instructions were
pensó que
very
esas
helpful.
instrucciones
But in
ayudaron
fact, they were
bastante,
wrong.
pero en
The
realidad estaban
group
equivocados.
that was left alone,
El
that
grupo
got
que
no
lo dejaron
instructions,
solo, que
just
no recibió
feedback,
instrucciones, solo
did better than the
retroalimentación,
group that
les fue
got
mejor que el
instructions.
grupo que recibió instrucciones.
And so people started to think when this finding
Entonces las
started
personas
to be
empezaron a pensar,
replicated,
cuando se replicaron
people
todos
started
estos
to think,
descubrimientos, la gente empezó a
maybe it's
pensar,
a bad
quizás es
idea
mala idea
to think
pensar
mechanically because maybe
mecánicamente,
that
porque
directs
quizá eso
attention
dirige la
to your
atención
body and
a
it
tu
makes you
cuerpo y
rigid.
te deja más
And as a
rígido.
matter of fact, I have a
Y
bunch of
de hecho, yo
colleagues
tengo
in
muchos
northern
colegas
Italy
en Italia,
who recently confirmed
los
they
cuales
still do
recientemente
this.
confirmaron que
In
aún hacen
northern
esto.
Italy, they have a lot
Y en
of
Italia
trees.
ellos tienen muchos
It's the Italian
árboles.
Alps.
Son los
And
Alpes
every voice
italianos en el
therapist that I
norte. Y
have
cada
met
terapeuta
up there,
vocal que yo he conocido de allá
it's usually
arriba,
her, in her office,
y por lo
has
general
a
es
tree
ella en
that
su
is
oficina
flat
tiene un
on the trunk,
árbol
a tree
que está-
stump
es-
that is flat on
es
the
un
top
tronco
and
del
curved on the
árbol
bottom.
que es
And their
liso en la parte
patients do
superior
their
y
voice
curvo
therapy
en la parte
sessions
de abajo, y
on
ellos hacen
that
sus sesiones
tree,
sobre
attempting
ese
not to
árbol,
fall.
tratando de no
And I've
caerse.
asked them many times,
Y yo
why
les
do you
digo
do
muchas
that?
veces,
And they
¿por qué
say,
haces eso?
oh, it
Y me
keeps their
dicen,
mind
no, es
off
para
their
que ellos
voice.
no se enfoquen en
It
su
keeps them
voz,
flexible.
los
Okay?
deja más flexibles.
So people ask that question.
Entonces, la
Maybe
gente
it's a
a veces
bad
hace esa
idea to
pregunta,
think
quizás es mala
mechanically
idea
because it
pensar
makes you rigid in
mecánicamente
your
porque te
body.
hace
And
rígido, tu
rigidity
cuerpo
is not
rígido,
good
y
for
la
most
rigidez no
motor
es bueno
skills.
para muchas
So,
habilidades motoras.
another group of subjects,
Otro grupo-
another group of researchers,
Otro
still
grupo de
headed by Gabby
investigadores
Wolf,
que también
did a
están liderados por
study on
Gabby
golf.
Wolf hicieron un estudio del golf.
And in this study, one group of
Y en este
golfers was
estudio,
asked
un
to
grupo
pay
de
attention to
golfistas le
the
pidieron
swing
que
of
se
their
enfocaran
arm
solamente en
when
cómo
they
se
took
movía el
swings,
brazo
right? So
cuando
that's an
daban el
internal
swing.
locus
Entonces,
of attention.
eso es en la atención
And
interna,
another group
es
of
dar un
subjects
foco
was
interno
asked
de
to pay
atención. Y otro
attention to
grupo
the
le pidieron
swing
que se
of the
enfocara en el
club
swing de
when they
el
took their
palo de
swings,
golf,
not their arms.
cuando
That's an
no los
external
brazos,
focus of
porque ese
attention.
sería un foco externo.
And the idea
Y la
was
idea
that if it's bad
era
to
que si
think
este es
of your
malo
body,
pensar
then
en
the
tu
people who
cuerpo,
pay attention to
entonces
the
las personas
club
que se
will
enfocan solo
perform
en el
and learn
palo
better than
van a
people
poder
who pay
aprender
attention to
mejor
their arm.
que la gente que se
And that's
enfoca en el
exactly
brazo.
what happened.
Y eso fue
And it was
exactamente lo que
an
ocurrió.
interesting study
Y fue
because
un
if you
estudio
walked onto
interesante
the
porque
golf
si
course
caminabas en
and you
ese
saw
curso
these
del
subjects
golf
taking
y
their
veías cómo
swings, they
estas
all
personas
looked the
trataban de
same.
golpear, todos se
You
veían
couldn't
igual.
tell the
No
difference
podías
between
notar la
groups
diferencia entre
because
los
the only
grupos
difference was
porque
in
la
their
única
head.
diferencia era mental.
Okay, so, but other people said, wait a second.
Pero
wait a
otras
second.
personas dijeron, a
These
ver, dame un
golfers,
segundo.
they were
Estas
not
personas que
only
jugaron
paying
golf no
attention
solo
to
se estaban
the
enfocando
swing of the
en el
club.
swing de cómo se movía el palo.
Basically, they were
Básicamente ellos se
looking at the
estaban enfocando
effects of
del
their arm
efecto
movement.
del movimiento del
So
brazo.
maybe the deal
Entonces,
is not
quizá
so much
el tema no
about
se
an
trata
internal
solo
versus an
sobre
external locus of attention.
una tensión interna versus
Maybe
la
the key
externa.
issue is
Quizás la
really
clave
that it's
en
helpful to
realidad
look
es
at
que
the
es
outcome,
útil ver el
the
resultado, resultado,
effects of
el
your
efecto
movement,
de tu
right?
movimiento.
maybe internal versus
Quizás
external
lo
doesn't
interno
have
versus lo
anything to
externo
do
no
with
tiene
the
nada que
issue.
ver con el
So
problema.
these clever folks
Entonces
did
estas
a study,
personas
again,
hicieron un
headed up
estudio,
by Gabby Wolf.
también
They did a
liderado por
tennis
Gabby Wolf,
study.
hicieron un estudio de
And
tenis.
in half of subjects,
Y
these
la mitad de
subjects
las
were asked to
personas
pay
se les
attention
pidió
to the
que se
ball as it
enfocaran
approached their
en la
racket.
pelota
And
mientras
in
se
the other
acercaba
half
a
of
su
subjects,
raqueta,
they were
y los
asked to
otros
pay
les
attention
pidieron
to
que
the
se
ball as
enfocaran
it
más
left
a la
their racket.
pelota mientras se
So
iba,
both of these
mientras ellos, después de que la habían
conditions
golpeado.
involved an external
Entonces
focus
estas
of
condiciones que se
attention,
enfocaban en lo externo,
but in one case,
pero en un
the attention was
caso
on
la atención,
an activity, an
la
event
atención
that
estaba
was
en una
antecedent
actividad
to
que
the
era
movement.
anterior al
And in the other
movimiento,
condition,
y la otra
the
condición,
attention was placed
la
on an
atención
event
estaba
that was the
en un
outcome
evento
or
que
the
era el
effect
resultado
of the
o el
movement.
efecto del movimiento.
So if all you have to do to optimize learning is pay
Entonces, si todo
attention
lo
to
que tienen
something
que hacer
outside
para
your body, it
optimizar el
could be
aprendizaje
anything,
es enfocarnos
right?
en una cosa que
Both
esté
of
fuera de
these
nuestro
groups
cuerpo,
should do
podría
the
ser
same,
cualquier
should
cosa.
perform and learn the
Ambos
same.
grupos deberían hacer lo mismo,
But that
podrían
was not
rendir
the
de la misma
case.
manera, pero
The
ese no fue el
group
caso.
that was instructed to pay
El
attention
grupo
to
que se le
the
pidió que se enfocara
to the arc of
en el
the
arco
racket,
de la raqueta,
arc of the ball
el
as it
arco de
left
la
their
pelota,
racket,
cuando se iba de la raqueta,
performed and learned better
ellos
than
aprendieron
those who
mejor
were
que los
instructed.
que
I don't know if I told you about what
que
the
lo que
outcome
no les dije,
was before.
no sé si les
Sorry if
conté
I
cómo fue el
skipped that.
resultado,
The
perdón, me
group
salté esa
anyway
parte.
that was instructed to pay
El
attention
grupo
to the
que se
arc
le
of the
instruyó
ball
que
as
se
it left
enfocara
their
en el
racket,
arco de la pelota cuando
performed
se
and
iba
learned
de la
better than the
pelota,
group
cuando se
that
iba
was
la
told to
pelota,
pay attention
aprendió
to the
mejor
ball
que el
as it
otro
approached
grupo que
their
tenía que
racket.
enfocarse en la pelota que se
Okay,
acercaba.
so that's really kind of interesting.
Entonces eso es bastante
Maybe
interesante.
we shouldn't sit that
Quizás
child in
no
front of a
deberíamos
mirror,
sentar al niño frente al
and
espejo
explain
y
biomechanically
explicarle
how to produce an S
biomecánicamente cómo
correctly.
producir una S.
Maybe we shouldn't explain to
Quizás no
people and
deberíamos
show,
explicarle-
explain to people verbally what these diaphragmatic
explicarles
movements are about,
verbalmente de qué se tratan
diaphragmatic
estos
abdominal
movimientos del
movements are
diafragma o
about.
estos movimientos
Maybe
abdominales.
we
Quizás
should
lo que
orient
deberíamos
people's
hacer es
attention to
orientar
the
la atención
outcome.
de las personas
What
al
does it
resultado,
sound like?
cómo
What does it
suena,
feel like?
cómo se siente.
Because the
Porque
idea
la
is
idea
that our
es
non-conscious
que
mind,
nuestra
which
mente
is the part of the mind
inconsciente,
that
que
is
es la
best
parte
suited
de la mente
to
que está
solving motor
mejor
problems,
situacionada
because there
para
are
solucionar
so
problemas
many
motores,
degrees of
debido a que hay
freedom
tantos grados
in
de libertad
solving motor
en poder
problems. To walk from
solucionar
here
estos
to
problemas
that
motores.
wall
Caminar de aquí a
requires
esa
an
muralla
enormous amount of
requiere
cognitive
un monto
processing
de
that
procesos
cannot
cognitivos
possibly fit into
inmensos que no
consciousness.
podría caer
Okay?
en la conciencia.
And so maybe if we orient people's
Entonces
attention
quizás si
to the
orientamos a la
outcome, which we
atención
can
de las
fit into
personas al
consciousness,
resultado, el cual
that
sí podemos
outcome
encajar en la
will get fed
conciencia,
back
ese
into the
resultado va a tener
non-conscious mental
retroalimentación
processor,
en el
which
procesador
itself
no
will figure the
mental,
problem
el
out.
cual por sí solo
This sounds
dará cuenta
too
del problema,
simple,
del
and
resultado.
when you do it, it might
Esto suena
initially
muy
feel
simple
like
y
you're not
quizá
earning your
inicialmente
keep.
pareciera que no
It
estamos
might feel
ganando
like you're
nada,
not doing
como que
enough.
no
It
estamos
might
haciendo
feel
lo
like you're not
suficiente, o se
looking
podría
smart
sentir
enough,
como que no nos vemos
but
lo
it is
suficientemente
extremely
listos,
powerful
pero es
in
extremadamente
therapy.
poderoso en la terapia.
Okay. So, metaphoric images.
Así que las imágenes metafóricas.
Images are often
Las
used in
imágenes
voice
metafóricas
training.
por lo
So
general se utilizan
imagine
en
that your voice
entrenamiento
is
de
a
voz. Así
wave
que
with
imaginen
no
que su voz
beginning and
es
no
una ola,
end. For
perdón, que no
example,
tiene
for the
principio ni
learning
fin.
of smooth
Para el
onset phonation
aprendizaje
without
de
a
las fonaciones sin el
glottal stop, apple, orange,
una
interesting.
manzana,
Okay?
naranja.
That is in
interesante.
fact a metaphor that's
Ese tipo
used
de
in the
palabras,
English
eso
language
es
quite
una
often for
metáfora
the
que se
training
utiliza
of
mucho
this
en inglés
test.
para el
Now,
entrenamiento de esta
these
tarea.
metaphors are actually
Ahora, estas
widely used.
metáforas son
I did a
muy
little survey a long
utilizadas. Yo
time
hice
ago,
una
but
encuesta hace
among
mucho
speech
tiempo
pathologists
respecto
and also among teachers
en
of
los
singing
fonoaudiólogos y
and also
profesores de
among
canto
acting
y también
coaches.
con
And metaphors were
directores de
reported to be
actores. Y
very
las
common
metáforas se notaron que
in
eran muy
training. Now,
comunes en el
metaphors,
entrenamiento.
imagine that
Ahora,
your
las
voice is a
metáforas,
wave.
imaginen que su
Metaphors
voz es
really
una
involve
ola. Las
associational
metáforas
processing,
también
don't they?
involucran
I am
procesos
associating my
de
voice that's coming out of my
¿cierto?
mouth
Yo estoy
with a
asociando mi
wave
voz
in the
con
ocean
una
that
ola
has no
del mar,
beginning and no
la cual
end.
no tiene principio ni
So a
fin.
question can be
Entonces se
asked,
puede hacer una
is
pregunta.
metaphoric imagery
Las
of this
imágenes
type
metafóricas de este
really
tipo en
useful
realidad es
in
útil
voice training
en el
in
entrenamiento
particular or in
vocal
general physical
o
training in
quizás en
general?
otro tipo de entrenamientos
Because if we
generales.
think back, it
Porque
really
si
shouldn't be.
pensamos,
Remember what
si
we
que
said
vemos atrás,
before?
no debería ser.
We said that
Recuerden lo que
declarative
vimos
learning
antes,
involves
que el modelo
associational
declarativo
processing,
involucra
but
los
the
procesos
procedural
de
learning does
asociación,
not.
pero el procedural
And as a
no.
matter of fact, sometimes
Y
when you
de
try to
hecho, a
get
veces
people
cuando uno trata
in other domains,
de que las
actually in my
personas lleguen a otros
dissertation
dominio.
showed
Por
that
ejemplo,
if
mi
you
disertación
try to
muestra
get people
que
to
si tratamos que las
process
personas
motor
traten de
behaviors
procesar
associationally,
los
you kind of mess
comportamientos
them up.
motores de manera
So
asociativa, uno
theoretically,
como que
this should not be
los
helpful.
confunde. Entonces,
But if so many
teóricamente esto
voice
no debería
teachers and
ser
voice
útil.
therapists
Pero pero
these
muchos
metaphors, we
profesores
can't all be
utilizan estas
stupid,
metáforas.
right?
No
There
puede
must
ser
be
que
a
todos
reason
seamos
we're using
estúpidos,
them.
¿verdad?
So
Debe
this
haber
was
una
the
razón
topic
para
on which I did my
utilizarlos.
dissertation,
Entonces este
and
fue
it
el
was
tema en el
actually
cual yo
theoretically
diserté.
at the time
Y de hecho,
a pretty
en ese
important,
tiempo fue
not
bastante
that my work was
importante, o
important,
sea,
but
no
the
que mi
question
trabajo
was
haya
an
sido
important
importante,
one.
pero que la
This
pregunta era
model
muy
here, where we
importante.
see different
Este
kinds
modelo
of
donde vemos diferentes tipos de
cognitive
procesos,
processes across declarative and procedural learning, is referred to as the dual
estos se
process
refieren como
model.
el
And anyone
modelo
who could show
dual de
that a
procesos. Y cualquier
procedural
persona que podría
task
mostrar que una
could
tarea
benefit
procedural
from
podría
associational
beneficiarse de
processing
procesos
would
asociativos,
start to demolish
comenzaría
the
a demoler
solidity, how
la
solid this
solidez
model is.
de
So
la
for that
solidez de este
reason,
modelo.
there was
Entonces, por
theoretical
esta
importance
razón
to the
había
study.
importancia
So I
teórica
followed
a
it up.
este
I'll tell you
estudio.
about the voice study that I did
Entonces,
in
bueno, yo les
follow-up,
voy a
very
contar
similar to my
respecto al estudio de voz
dissertation.
que hice después
In
de
this
eso, muy similar a mi
task,
disertación.
subjects were
En esta
seated
tarea,
in
las
front of a
personas se
computer
sentaban
screen,
frente a un
and they were
computador
fitted with a mask
y les
that measured
poníamos esta máscara
airflow
que medía el
during
flujo del aire
phonation.
durante la
And we were
fonación.
interested in airflow at
Y
the
nosotros nos
onset of
preocupaba el
phonation.
flujo del aire
In fact, the
al
task was
principio
to
de la
train
fonación.
people
De hecho, la tarea era
to
entrenar a las
produce
personas
vowel
a que
initial
produjeran
words with smooth
palabras con
onset.
vocales
So not
con una
apple,
manera
orange,
rápida. Entonces,
interesting,
no
but rather
apple, orange, or
apple,
interesting,
orange,
sino que
interesting,
apple, orange,
and not with
interesting, y
aspiration,
no con
apple,
aspiraciones.
orange, interesting. And we found that with
Y
our
notamos
equipment in
que
this
con nuestro
setting,
equipo en
smooth
este
onset
ajuste,
phonation
la
corresponded
fonación desde
to
un principio
approximately
correspondía
100
aproximadamente
milliliters
a
per
100
second of
mililitros
airflow
por
at
segundo
phonation onset.
de
So we
flujo.
told people, yeah, you're going to get a
Entonces le
bunch of
dijimos a las
words
personas,
that
ok,
begin with vowels.
vas a recibir muchas
We'd
palabras
like you
que
to
comienzan
produce
con
each
vocales.
word one
Me
by
gustaría que
one,
produjera cada
attempting
palabra uno por
to
uno,
have smooth
tratando
onset
de tener un
at the
principio
beginning of the
suave
word.
cada vez
And
que
you'll
comience la
know you're
palabra.
getting
Y
pretty
vas a
much smooth
notar que vas a
onset
estar
if
llegando, lo
your
estás haciendo de manera
airflow
suave,
is
si es
about
que tu
100
flujo de
milliliters
aire
per
es de
second.
100 mililitros por
So
segundo.
after each word,
Entonces,
I
después
just
de
made
cada
these
palabra,
data up, but after
esto
each
yo,
word, they
estos datos
got
yo los inventé, pero
feedback
después de
on
cada
how they
palabra
did
ellos recibieron
relative to the target.
retroalimentación de cómo
And
lo
so they
hicieron
might
respecto al
overshoot it,
blanco.
undershoot
Entonces a
it,
veces
and gradually over
lo
time,
hacían
not
mucho
this fast, but
mejor, no
gradually
tan
over
rápido,
time
pero
start to
gradualmente
approximate the target.
empezaron a
So they
acercarse al
did that
objetivo.
for 80 words, then
Entonces
they had
hicieron
a
eso
little
por
rest,
80
and then they
palabras,
came
luego
back and they had
descansaron
a test.
y después volvieron y
And
tuvieron una
part of
prueba.
the test was to produce
Y parte
new
de la
words
prueba
that
era
they had
producir
not
nuevas
yet
palabras
practiced,
que no habían practicado
attempting
aún,
again to
tratando
start these words
de
with
comenzar
smooth
estas palabras
onset.
de manera suave.
And here were, oh, I'm sorry, I completely forgot to say what the important
Se me
piece of the
olvidó
study
la
was.
parte importante de
Half
este
of
estudio.
subjects were
La mitad de
instructed to use
las
this
personas se les
metaphor,
instructó que
for
hicieran
which we
esta
had
metáfora,
preliminary data
por
that
la cual
subjects
teníamos
liked
datos
it, that it was
preliminarios de
widely
que a las personas
used,
les
etc.,
gustaba,
which
que se
was
utilizaba
indeed,
mucho, etc.
imagine that your voice is a
Lo cual
wave
era,
with no
imagina
beginning
que
and no
tuvo
end,
voz
to
en una ola,
facilitate
sin
the
principio ni
acquisition
fin,
of
para
smooth
poder
onset
facilitar la
phonation.
adquisición de esta
The
fonación
other
suave.
group was given no instruction at
El otro
all.
grupo no se le dio ni un
Okay,
tipo
and
de
here were
instrucción.
some of the
Y
results
aquí
at
pueden ver algunos de los
test.
resultados de la
On
prueba.
the y-axis we have errors,
Por
so a
ejemplo, en el
large
eje
number
Y
is bad
tenemos
and a
errores,
small number
entonces
is
muchos
good.
son malos
And
y
on
un
the
número
x-axis
pequeño
we
es
have
malo, y
group.
en el eje X
What we
tenemos grupo.
see here, oh wow, I just totally keep hitting the wrong button.
Siempre aprieto el
Did I
botón
just
equivocado.
completely, now it's buscando. Yeah, sorry, I'm trigger happy here. The laser button and the forward and backward buttons are right
Que
very
los
close to
botones
each
están
other.
muy cerca el
Can
uno
you
del
find
otro.
it?
¿Lo puedes encontrar?
Okay. It's searching. Yeah, okay, beautiful. Thank you so much. I'll try to be less clumsy.
Trataré de tener un poco
Okay,
más
so
de
on the
cuidado.
x-axis we have
Bueno, así que en el
group
eje
right
X
here,
tenemos
okay?
el grupo.
So we see that,
Entonces
and this
vemos
is the
que
amount of error relative to target on new
el
words
monto
during
de
the test
error
phase.
en las palabras
We see
nuevas
here
en la
that
fase
the
de
people
prueba.
who got
Entonces vemos que acá las
images,
personas
who
que
were
recibieron
instructed to
imágenes,
use
a las
these
cuales se les
metaphors,
dijo que utilizaran
on
esta
average
metáfora,
had near
en
almost
promedio
30 milliliters
tenían
per
casi
second of
30
airflow
mililitros
of
por
error
segundo de
relative to the
flujo de aire
target
de
of
error
100.
relativo
The
al
people whom we left
objetivo de
alone,
100.
who
En
got
las
no
personas que
instruction
dejamos
at
solas,
all, they
las
just
cuales no
got
recibieron
feedback,
ningún tipo
had
de
about half
instrucción,
that error.
tuvieron la mitad
Now,
de ese
what was
error.
interesting, again, was that
Lo
the subjects
interesante
who
es
received
que
the
las personas que
images,
recibieron las
before we
imágenes,
told them what the study
antes de
was
que les
about,
dijéramos de qué
but
se
after
tratara el
they had
estudio,
completed the
pero después de que lo
experimental part,
habían
we gave them a
completado la parte
questionnaire so
experimental,
that
le
they
dimos
could
un
indicate
cuestionario
to us
para que ellos
whether
pudieran
they thought
indicar
image was
si es que
useful.
pensaron que la
And
imagen era
every
útil.
subject of 29
Y de los
subjects
29,
answered on a scale of 5, either 4 or 5
Contestaron de
on several
5 en una
questions,
escala de
that yes,
5,
the image
5
was very
4,
useful.
pusieron
But
que
they
sí,
were
que la imagen
wrong.
era muy útil.
The
Pero
people
estaban
whom we left
equivocados.
alone
Las
learned
personas que
better and
dejamos
just gave them
solos
feedback
aprendieron
learned better.
mejor
than
Solo
the
les dimos
people who were
retroalimentación,
given
aprendieron
these
mejor que las
metaphoric
personas que les
images.
dimos estas
So,
imágenes metafóricas. Entonces,
I obtained similar results for a
obtuve
a
resultados
series
similares
of
para
very
una
large
serie
studies
de
on hand-eye
estudios muy
coordination for
largos
my
en la
dissertation.
coordinación de mano a ojo.
Again, those subjects thought that the
También estas
metaphors
personas
that we gave
pensaron
them
que las
were helpful,
metáforas
but
que
they
les
were
dimos
wrong.
eran útiles, pero estaban
And the
equivocados.
interpretation
Y
is
la
that when we're thinking of a
interpretación es que cuando nosotros
metaphor,
pensamos en
our
una
attention
metáfora,
is taken
nuestra
away
atención
from the
se aleja
perceptual
del
processes
proceso
that actually
perceptual, del
drive
cual
learning.
de hecho
So
son
that's
los
what
que
that
impulsan el
interpretation
aprendizaje.
is.
Así que
So
eso es
the
lo que es
current
esa interpretación.
conclusions are
Y las
that
conclusiones
there
actuales
is
son de
no
que
strong
no hay
empirical
una
evidence
evidencia
that
fuerte y
metaphoric
empírica de
images
que las imágenes
help learning in the
metafóricas
general
ayuden a
physical
aprender
domain
en un
or in the
dominio
voice domain
general
in
físico
particular.
o en
There
el
is evidence
entrenamiento de
that these
voz.
images actually
Hay
harm
evidencia de que de hecho
learning,
estas imágenes
and instead
perjudican el
perceptual
aprendizaje
processing
y que el
does,
procesamiento
according to,
perceptual
consistent with the dual process model,
consistente con el
does
modelo
appear to
dual
facilitate
pareciera
learning.
que asiste el
There are
aprendizaje.
some possible
Hay
exceptions,
algunas
however, and
excepciones
these
posibles,
exceptions
sí,
are
y
the
estas
case of
excepciones serían
familiar
el
event.
caso del evento
So, for
familiar.
example, Arthur Lesak,
Por ejemplo, Arthur Lesak,
voice and speech trainer from
que era mi
theater,
entrenador de
talks
teatro,
about
él habla,
in order to train breathing
dice que
gestures,
para poder
breathing
entrenar
biomechanics,
los
he talks about
gestos
putting your
de
hands cupped in front of
respiración,
you
habla de
and
poner
imagine
nuestras
that you're
manos
smelling
frente a
a
nosotros
rose.
e imaginar que estamos oliendo
Very
una rosa
slowly, okay? So
de
you're
manera muy
really
lenta.
enjoying
Entonces
that
uno está
smell,
disfrutando ese
and all of
aroma
a sudden you will find
y
that good things that he
repentinamente
thinks are
uno
good
nota que las cosas
biomechanically
que
are
él
happening.
encuentra que son
So
buenas
that's a familiar
biomecánicamente están
event.
ocurriendo
You
y ese es
could
un evento
actually do
familiar.
that if you
Uno de
haven't
hecho
done it
podría
already
hacerlo si es que no lo has
physically.
hecho
Okay, so
ya
that's a different
físicamente.
kind of a metaphor.
Entonces es un diferente tipo de
And
metáfora.
another exception comes from a dissertation by
Otra
Andy
excepción
Tsay in
viene por
Hong
una
Kong.
disertación de Andy
He
Tsay en
used
Hong
metaphors for a
Kong
voice
y él
training
utilizó
task, but those
metáforas para una
metaphors
tarea de
were focused
entrenamiento de
on
voz, pero esas
outcome,
metáforas se
not
enfocaban
on
en
process,
resultados,
not on
no en los
biomechanics.
procesos, no
So
en la
there may be some
biomecánica.
cases in which
Entonces
metaphors
quizá hay algunos
are
casos en los
justified.
cuales metáforas son
Intention.
justificadas.
Here's our third topic,
La intención,
intention.
aquí hay otro tema.
There are two types of
Hay
intention.
dos tipos de
One is
intención.
trying really
Uno es
hard, and the
intentarlo
other one is
muy
simply
duro y
going
el
for
otro
it.
es ir
In
por
the
él.
motor domain, it's
En el
generally
dominio
thought
motor
that
se
trying too
piensa de
hard
que
is bad.
intentándolo demasiado
Almost every
es
voice
malo.
teacher I had until I studied with a
Muchos de
certain
los
individual
profesores
whose name is
vocales
Mark
que yo
Madsen
tenía hasta que
told me I
estudié
was
con Mark
trying
Madsen,
too
pero
hard
todos
and
me decían
don't
que yo lo
try so
intentaba
hard.
mucho,
And
que
I
no lo
always
intentara
said, well,
demasiado.
I wouldn't
Y yo
try so
siempre decía,
hard
yo
if
no lo
I knew how. I
intentaría
had
tan
no
difícil,
idea
no lo
how
intentaría
to
tanto
not
si
try
supiera
so
cómo
hard.
hacerlo, no sabía
So
cómo
trying
no
hard is
intentarlo
generally
tanto.
thought to be negative
Entonces eso
in
generalmente se percibe
the,
como algo
motor
negativo
domain,
en el
but
dominio
going
motor,
for it is
pero
important.
ir por
Unless
él
you
o intentarlo
intend
es
to hit that high
importante,
note,
a
you're
no
not
ser
going to
que
make it.
quieras
Unless you
llegar a esa nota
intend
alta,
to
no
jump
lo vas a
over a
hacer,
pole, you're
a no
not
ser
going to make
que
it.
tengas la intención
And
de
in
saltar
fact,
una
there
valla, no
are
lo vas a
some
lograr
data to the
tampoco.
effect, I won't
Y
prolong
de
this here,
hecho hay
to the
datos
effect that
a
trying
esto
is
de
good in the
que
declarative
intentarlo
domain.
en el,
If you're
en
taking a
el
test, you need to
dominio
try to
declarativo es
learn that
bueno. Si
material.
quieres
You're not
tomar
going to
una prueba
absorb
tienes
it
que
if you don't
tratar de
try.
aprender, no lo
So
vas a
many
absorber
students
si es que
come
no
to
lo
me
haces.
and
Muchos
say,
estudiantes
I
llegan y me
don't know
dicen,
why
no sé por
I got a
qué
40%
me
on
llegó
that
un
exam.
me
I
saqué un
swear I
40% en el
studied.
examen,
And
les
I'll
juro que
say,
yo
how did you
estudié.
study?
Y yo le digo, ¿cómo
And
estudiaste?
so often they say, well, I
Y a
read the
menudo dicen,
material
bueno, leí el
twice.
material 2 veces.
That's not going to make it.
Eso no
You
va a
gotta
funcionar,
try,
tenés que
right?
intentarlo.
So trying is helpful
Entonces,
for declarative
intentándolo es
learning,
útil
but there are
para
some
el
data that
procedimiento
show that
declarativo.
trying
Pero hay
actually
datos que nos
harms,
muestran de
trying too
que a
hard
veces
harms.
que
There was a study
intentarlo
on
demasiado
video games
perjudica.
in children.
Hubo un
And when
estudio
they
de
were
los
told to
videojuegos
try
en los
really
niños y
hard,
cuando
their
les decían que
performance
lo
actually
intentaran
decreased
bastante, de hecho
compared to
su
when they didn't
rendimiento
even know they were being
bajaba
observed.
a cuando ellos ni siquiera
So,
sabían que estaban siendo
those are
observados.
data that are consistent with our view.
No son
5
datos
minutes?
que son
Okay.
consistentes.
Consistent
¿Quedan
with our
5
view
minutos?
that trying is
Son
good for
consistentes
declarative
con eso
learning,
en
but
que
not so good
intentarlo
for
es muy bueno para
procedural
el
learning.
aprendizaje declarativo,
Okay,
pero
so
no muy
here's a
bueno para
study
el
I'm going to go
procedural.
through quickly.
Aquí hay un estudio del
This
cual
was a
vamos a pasar
study
rápidamente.
on golf.
Este es un estudio
This
del golf.
individual, Debbie Cruz,
Esta
took a
persona,
bunch of
Cruz,
golfers.
Debbie
They had been
Cruz,
golfing
tomó
for
hartas
3
personas
to
que
5
juegan
years,
golf, llevan
and
jugando
she
golf 3 a 5
brought them
años,
into her lab,
los llevó a
and
su
she
laboratorio
experimentally
y
induced
experimentó
pressure.
y
Okay, so
les
first she had them
indujo
perform
presión.
under
Primero
baseline
les
conditions,
puso que
and
lo
then she
hicieron en
induced
condiciones
pressure
normales y luego
by
les
adding
empezó
a
a poner
financial
presión.
incentive
Les
and
puso un
also
incentivo
social
financiero financiero y
evaluation,
también de evaluación
a social
social.
evaluation piece of the experiment.
del experimento.
And what she found was
Y
that
lo
some
que ella
subjects
descubrió
under
que algunas
pressure
personas
started to
bajo
perform
presión
poorly, and
mejoraban,
other
no,
people under
perdón,
pressure
lo hacían de
continued to
manera mala,
perform
y
well.
las personas bajo
And what she
presión,
found
algunas
was she
también lo
found
hacían, lo seguían
that there
haciendo
was
bien.
not a difference
Ellos
in the
notaron de
increase
que
in
no había una
anxiety
diferencia
under pressure.
en la
Both
ansiedad.
had an
Ambos
equivalent
tenían
increase in
la
anxiety, so that wasn't
ansiedad
the issue.
equivalente,
What
entonces
was
no era el
different were
problema.
brain
Lo
patterns.
diferente eran los patrones
People who did
cerebrales.
poorly
Las
under
personas que
pressure had
rendían
an
mal bajo
increase in the
presión
whole
tenían
left
una
hemisphere
incrementación en el
of the
hemisferio
brain. And
izquierdo
when they
del
were asked
cerebro.
what they were
Y cuando
doing
les
mentally
preguntaban qué
under
es lo que
pressure,
estaban haciendo
they said they were
mentalmente
giving
bajo
themselves
presión,
verbal,
decía que se estaban
biomechanical
dando
instructions on
instrucciones
what to do.
verbales
Does that sound
biomecánicas de
familiar?
cómo hacerlo. ¿Eso les
Remember we
suena
heard
familiar?
before that people who are
¿Recuerdan que han
given
escuchado
verbal
de que las personas
biomechanical
que
instructions
les
don't
dicen
do too well?
instrucciones verbales
Well,
biomecánicas
they
no lo
didn't do
hacen muy
too well
bien?
either,
Bueno,
even
ellos
giving
tampoco lo hicieron
themselves
bien,
their
y eso
own
que se lo estaban dando
instructions.
ellos mismos,
The
sus propias
people who did
instrucciones.
well under
Las
pressure
personas que
had
hicieron
an
bien
equal
bajo presión
increase
tenían un
in brain activation
incremento
across
de
both
activación
hemispheres, right and
cerebral
left.
en ambos
And
hemisferios.
When they were asked what they were doing
Y
under
cuando se les
pressure,
preguntó qué es lo que estaban
they
haciendo bajo
reported that they
presión,
had
ellos
target
dijeron
awareness.
que tenían
They
una
had a
conciencia del
perceptual
objetivo,
image of
tenían
that
una imagen
ball going into
perceptiva
that
de
hole
la
before
pelota
it even
entrando en el
happened. No
agujero antes de
verbalizations,
que
no words,
ocurriera.
no nothing.
No hubieron palabras
Just
ni
I can see it
verbalizaciones,
going
nada.
into the
Solo
hole.
fue que yo puedo
And
ver
does that
que
ring
voy
a
a
bell?
anotar.
In other words, they
¿Y eso
were
les
focusing
recuerda
on the
algo?
outcomes
Ellos se
of
estaban
movement
enfocando en el
even
resultado,
before they
incluso
took a
antes
swing,
de que
even
ellos
before
lo
that
golpearan,
outcome happened.
incluso antes de que
So that
ese
is very
resultado
consistent
ocurriese.
with the research
Entonces
of
eso es muy
Gabby Wolf,
consistente con lo
who
que
has
investigó Gabby
concluded that
Wolf,
biomechanical
que
verbal
concluyó
instructions
que
are
las
not
instrucciones
very good,
biomecánicas no
but a
son muy
focus
buenas,
on target
pero
awareness
un
or
enfoque
outcome is a
en
good thing.
resultado es lo bueno.
I'll just briefly conclude here
Brevemente
by
vamos a
talking
concluir
about
hablando sobre
consciousness. There
la
was a study that
conciencia.
was done by a neurophysiologist in
Hubo un
Germany
estudio que
on
se hizo por un
children,
fisiólogo
and he
en
trained them
en
on
Alemania,
a
en los
musical
niños,
task,
y
either
él los entrenó con
declaratively
una
with
tarea
words
musical,
or
ya sea
procedurally,
declarativamente con
experientially with
palabras
body
o
movements.
sino con
And he
movimiento
found that
corporal.
although both
Y él
groups of
descubrió que a
children
pesar
learned
de
the
que ambos
task
grupos de
equally
los
well
niños
in the
aprendieron
short
muy
term,
bien
at
de
long
igual
term
manera
follow-up,
a
1 year
corto
after
plazo,
training, the
un año
children who had
después,
learned
los niños que habían aprendido de
declaratively
manera
did very
declarativa lo
poorly,
hicieron
but
muy
the
mal,
children who had
pero
learned
las personas que
procedurally
lo
retained their
aprendieron
skill.
del
So you might
método
be telling me, no,
procedural
my patients,
mantuvieron
my
esa habilidad.
students, they
Entonces uno
learn
podría
when I
decir,
explain
no,
things to
ellos,
them. Yes,
mis
because
alumnos
human
ellos sí
beings can learn
aprenden. Y uno
under
dice, sí,
even
claro,
adverse
uno puede, el ser
circumstances.
humano puede aprender
But
incluso
the best
bajo
learning seems to be
circunstancias
in the
adversas,
long term,
pero
the best
en el largo
long-term
plazo
learning
el
seems to be
aprendizaje
when we
mejor
train people
parece ser
procedurally.
cuando los entrenamos con
There are also
procedimientos.
brain changes that are
También hay
associated with
cambios
these
cerebrales
findings.
que ocurren,
So,
que están asociados a estas
summarizing,
descripciones.
central cognitive
Entonces,
features of
como pueden
perceptual
ver,
motor learning
las
that we have talked about a little bit.
habilidades de
I don't know if you
cognitiva
have the
central,
saying in Chile,
no sé
but
si
we do
ustedes
in the
tendrán un
United
dicho en
States,
Chile, pero en
that there
Estados
are
Unidos
3
tenemos un
important
dicho de
principles
que hay 3
in trying
principios
to sell
importantes
or buy
en
your
tratar
house.
de vender
And
o
those
comprar
3 important
una
principles
casa. Y
are
esos 3
location,
principios son la
location,
locación, la
location.
locación y la locación.
I have come to conclude after
Yo he
25
concluido,
years
después
of
de
working in this
25 años de
domain,
trabajar
that
en
there
este
are
rubro,
3 important
de que hay
principles
3
in perceptual
importantes
motor learning.
principios en
And those 3
el
important
aprendizaje
principles,
motor.
we always
Y
focus
esos
on the
3,
motor output.
nosotros siempre
But what we
nos
often
enfocamos en el
neglect
resultado motor,
is
pero lo que a
how
veces
are we
nosotros no nos
guiding
enfocamos
people's
en cómo estamos guiando las
perceptions of
percepciones
others'
de las
movements,
personas,
perceptions
las
of their own
percepciones de los
movements,
movimientos de
perceptions of the
otros, de los
outcome.
movimientos propios, del
Perception,
resultado.
perception,
Entonces sería
perception,
percepción,
I
percepción,
believe, truly
percepción.
drives
Yo creo que
perceptual
eso
motor
es lo que
learning.
impulsa el aprendizaje
And in
motor.
some, it's all in
Y
the head
para algunos
with
está todo en
experience.
la cabeza,
And you
con la
might ask me,
experiencia.
how
Y uno
can we
quizás
learn how to
podría
apply this?
preguntar,
What does this look
¿cómo
like
puedo
in speech
aplicar esto?
therapy?
¿Cómo se ve
Well, if
esto
you
en la
want to
terapia
know,
vocal? Bueno, y si
there
quieren
you can take a
saber,
newly developing course. We're
pueden tomar
finishing
un
it tomorrow.
curso que
It's an
estamos
e-course
desarrollando. Ahora lo vamos a terminar mañana.
that
Un curso
is
online
produced by Mabel,
que es
Marcelo,
producido por Mabel, Marcelo
and Dan.
y Dan.
Mabel's, he's the camera person. That's
Mabel me
Mabel's
parece
son.
que
So you
Dan
can
es el
inquire
hijo de
about
Mabel,
that
el
course.
de la cámara.
It's a fairly
Usted puede
lengthy course,
preguntar
about
por ese
15
curso,
hours.
me parece que dura como
But in that
15
course we
horas,
show you
pero en
how
ese
to do
curso
this,
nosotros
and
les
it's so
mostramos
exciting.
cómo hacer esto
So,
y es muy
thank you for your
emocionante.
attention.
Así que gracias por su atención.